Wow.
And I was like, this is crazy.
Well, I saw it was like AT&T mostly, right?
All right. Yeah, AT&T, and I have Google Fi, but okay. Oh, we're starting. Okay, this is so exciting. We're so happy to be here at our episode about talent. I have my friend and my colleague here, Ruby Amezquita, who's going to talk about talent and ask her a couple questions about our what we do. But Ruby's been here longer, so she definitely has more knowledge. So Ruby, welcome.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I feel like I've been behind the scenes, and I've seen, and we have mics now, so this is really legitimate. So this is really, yeah. So I'm honored to be here on this other side.
Yeah.
The production team is great. Also.
Well, Ruby, we have a couple questions,
Okay.
and we even got questions from people who have applied to our jobs. So in that, I'll ask that later on.
Okay, that's
But
so exciting.
yeah, so the first question I have here is like, how did you end up in talent, particularly like at our schools, at Brilla Public Charter Schools?
So that's a great question. I was my parents are Mexican. They immigrated to the United States.
Yeah.
And I was born in Indiana. But education is like a really big part of our family. So we grew up just really wanting to like be the best and achieve the most academically. And when I went to college, I was thinking, okay, I want to do something to like improve education. And I wasn't exactly sure what. My university didn't have an education major. I was a political science major. And so I thought, okay, ed policy, working in government. And so I kind of had dabbled in some of those things, but Congress wasn't for me. So I decided,
I mean, maybe.
no, I don't think so. But it was just really important. It was really important for me to do something where I felt like I was doing something. And so I felt like most college kids, like, I want to have like an impact, and I want my life to be meaningful. And my university was like had a partnership with a teaching service program, and so I basically was like, sign me up, and I ended up in Tucson, Arizona.
Wow.
Which is very different from Indiana. I had never seen like canyons or cactus or a roadrunner. So kudos if anyone knows what a roadrunner is.
Yeah, I'm from the Bronx, so
No.
yeah.
It's totally, I mean, I loved my time out in Arizona, and I loved that program and that community, and I taught third grade, so I was Miss A, and so Miss A is like, my last name is Amezquita. It's kind of long for a third grader, so I was Miss A, and that really became a huge part of my life, and I discovered that I like love teaching, and I love teaching reading, and I love teaching math and multiplication, and it was a really formative time in my life. And I think all that desire and all of that, like, okay, I want to make an impact, and I don't just, want to be stuck behind a desk, or I don't want to be like just writing for someone or going to law school. Like, all those things are important, and I think there's, obviously we need that in our society, but we also need like doers and people who are like believe in the mission and who want to teach. And so for me, the greatest way of like of ensuring that like our country is prepared for the future is by teaching people how to read. And I taught lots of little kids how to read, and it was impressive. It was impressive to see them learn too. Like, they were so smart. I felt like every day, I can say this because I'm a country music fan, but I really did feel like I'd walk into my classroom and I felt like Taylor Swift, because kids would run up to me and hug me.
That is awesome.
And so I walk around and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm Taylor Swift. Like, because I have all these little kids running up to me. So that was really important. So, okay, I know I don't want to get sidetracked. I could talk about
okay.
third grade
But this
for a long
is great
time.
because teaching in terms of like we understand that when you're doing talent, oops, and is your earring still on?
Yes.
Okay.
But this is live. We are still good.
Okay. So then, so in the teaching, and then how talent in particular.
Yeah. So something I noticed when I was teaching was there were other people in my school who were just like really different degrees. Some folks who had been teaching for like 30 years, some people who were literally, we learned how to teach together over the summer. And so it was just such a pool of like different talent. And I remember my school was really underfunded. It was underserved. It wasn't like a school that people knew. And so for me, it was really important. Like, there's so many great things happening. We have so many important like things that we're doing in this building. Other people need to come here and teach here. And so I went to my principal and I was like, there's a fair going on at the University of Arizona. They have a teacher fair. can I go and can I talk to anybody? Because we need a kindergarten teacher. And there's no one who's teaching kindergarten for next year because that person was moving on. And we weren't sure there wasn't really like a plan for how that person was going to be replaced. So she was like, sure. So I took a half day. I took a personal day because I didn't use mine. And I went to the University of Arizona and I put up like a couple things and I met somebody and I didn't hire her like personally, but she became a teacher in my school.
Awesome.
So that was, I think about her. She also became a really dear friend. And she was, more importantly, a fantastic kindergarten teacher. Wow. And the kindergarten room is in front of the third grade room. So we were buddies. So I was like, this is great. So I was like, I'm going to get to see those kids when they get to third grade. And so that to me was so important of like, we need excellent teachers in order to continue to do the work that's happening in these schools. And so if people don't know about it, then like, I felt like, okay, this is a need and this is a talent that I have and a gift. And if you can find like where your needs and your talent align, then that I really think is like mission. And that's where I think your purpose is, like, I guess, at least professionally.
No, that's so cool. And then how did this all tie in and you came to Brilla, which now you've been at Brilla, what, 6, 7 years?
This is my 7th spring, actually coming up pretty soon, I think, when I like became official.
Wow.
So I knew this was what I wanted to do long term. And I moved to New York after teaching in Tucson for a couple of years. I stayed beyond my like service requirement, and I knew I was like, okay, I really want to make it. Like, I'm like, there's so many exciting things happening in New York, like the charter school movement, school choice. So I met people who worked at Brilla. So that's really what it was. It was like friends of friends who worked at Brilla, and Tess Lane, who we all know. She runs the Senior Teaching Fellows program, which is has given so many gifts to Brilla. And I met Tess, and I thought, wow, her school sounds amazing. Like, I want what they're having.
Wow.
And so that really opened the door to getting to do what I love to do, which is to hire staff.
That's so great. Well, shout out to Tess Lane.
Yes.
Yeah, she's been here also for so many years. Again,
I think Tess is at 10, probably. This is 10 for her. Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, the next question I have here is, how do you build and foster culture in schools, even though like we don't work in schools per se?
Yeah, so we're part of the network team, right? So that's always like, I think sometimes we are, but we're not, because we are in schools a lot. We're in for demo lessons. We go to onboarding. You can find us at probably the Cardinal Lounge having a chat with somebody or with a principal. So I think part of being part of Brilla is, and I love this phrase, is like, aquí hay la caridad. Like, here's like love and care. And I think that begins with like people in our like central office actually spend time in schools, and we know people and we want to develop relationships with folks. And so that's really something that's important to me. It's important to everybody in this team, because it's hard to recruit if you don't know your schools. It's hard to recruit if you don't know what the actual curriculum is. So it's really important for us to be part of, to integrate ourselves at, like, when appropriate, and also to really build community and foster joy. So I think that that's something that, we take on, and I'm really proud of to be part of a team that is really involved in schools, even parent-teacher conferences. Like, we'll go translate, we surveys. So like,
what haven't we done?
Yeah, like we've been mascots before. I know last time Carlton was here, even though I personally haven't been a mascot yet.
Well, we have to put you in the mascot costume soon.
Okay.
Because you get a pin and you're honorable.
That's true, a pin. So there are lots of mascots to choose from. So we're really integrated, and I think that is part of what makes like work joyful, is that we're not just sitting on the sides, we're like in it. And I think that's really important in education, to like roll up your sleeves and say like, okay, how can I serve here today?
Yeah. All right, Ruby. So then in an interview, what do we seek in a candidate? Can you talk a little bit to, especially there are people who are watching who are thinking or have applied to Brilla. So what is exactly that we seek in a candidate?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think for us, like, at least for me, like, I want to know, like, where have you been, like, professionally, where are you, and where do you want to go? And that's really important to get across in the first, like, really like 2 minutes of an interview. So usually our interviews are anywhere between 20 to 25 minutes, depending on questions, just because, we want to be respectful of your all's time. Usually when folks are interviewing with us, they're teaching or they have another job, right? And so we want to be respectful of time. But I think that's really important to know in an interview is, what is your trajectory? I also really like to know, and my first answer took up a lot of time, I know, but I really want to know why someone got into education. So of all the things you could do with your like one precious like miracle of a life, well, why is it this? And I think that is something that's really important to me. It's important to our team because mission is what drives you, what grounds you, what keeps you in for, at one place for 7 years. And I think this is my 12th year in education, maybe.
Wow.
So I know I'm losing track. I didn't think, people always say like, how do you not know? And it's like, I remember thinking that when I was younger, I'm like, how do you not know what year it's been? And then now I understand. Now I'm like, yeah, I kind of stopped counting. But yeah, so I would say that is super important. So I want to know like your trajectory and also like your purpose. And I think that like for the most part, our team has a really good sense of that by the end of a 25-minute call.
Yeah. So in that, do you think, as long as you've been here, have you seen things change over the years in terms of just like the perspective of the candidate? Like in that, like how has the vision become clearer over the years, or do you feel like it's the same? Has it changed in any way?
Yeah, from like the kind of questions that candidates are asking.
Yeah.
So I think so. And especially during COVID, I mean, as someone who was recruiting before COVID, during COVID, and then I think we can say hopefully like after COVID, I've seen just like kind of an ebb and flow in terms of like people really caring more, like candidates caring really a lot about curriculum, asking a lot of questions about curriculum, about what our different policies are around remote learning. What does that look like? Yeah. And I think that makes sense because we just, as a country, as a world, we experience like global or like a learning, like we had to pivot to learning virtually or remotely. And so I think folks are just more in tune with like what curriculum looks like and what freedom they have in making adjustments to curriculum and what they don't, what are the limitations. So I feel like I get a lot more of those questions than I used to. But I'm sure you guys probably get lots of different types of questions. But I think those are the ones I've seen. And I think they're probably driven because of COVID.
That's awesome. And what advice do you have for teachers with limited experience?
With limited, so like brand new teachers?
Yeah.
Well, I would say, I mean, like it is the best. My first year teaching was such a hard year, but it was like the best year. I tell people it's the best year I would never want to do again because I was like, it was so good, but it was so hard. But I think that part of it is like jumping right in. Like it's so much will come to like, so much will come, especially in those first 6 weeks, those first of setting procedures, of like learning what your classroom is like, of learning how to like prep for class, intellectual prep. Like teaching is like an art form. You are on stage every day. You are delivering your lines. You are correcting. Like you are managing people. Like it is, and at the end of the day, you're exhausted, but you're exhausted because you did something so beautiful and so good and like really noble, I think. So I would just tell like any first year teacher, anyone who's new to it, to just jump and be all in on it because it's hard, but it's also like incredibly rewarding and you're gonna get better at it. I mean, people get better at teaching the more you do it. But it is going to be something where it's like, why is this so hard? And it's like, oh, because it's actually hard.
Awesome. Well, I'm not even going to ask the next question. I'm going to go straight into the questions that some of the candidates who have applied have asked. So firstly, thank you, Alana K, if you're watching, sending this question. So how do you retain talent that provides value and overall success to the organization? Alana K had asked that question, and I thought it was so great. It's so great.
That's a great question of how do we keep our people? I think it comes from believing in and creating like individualized coaching plans for folks that grow them, right? So I think, yes, I know where you've been, where you are, where you want to go, but that where you want to go, when you come into Brilla, there is somebody who wants to help you get there. Right. And so like we are instructional coaches, the folks here, our content specialists at the network level are really trying to work with teachers to not only develop their skill set, but also to continue their professional growth. And so I think having an idea of like where it is that you want to go is really helpful because then we can continue to like foster, develop you. I love to see like folks who come out of TFA, right. And who are teachers at our schools and then become like team leads, which are teachers with extra added responsibilities on the team, and really develop into like even assistant principals. Like I've seen the trajectory of the growth, or folks who want to pivot into operations. I think all those things are possible. So I think one of the things I would recommend is really having an idea and mapping out where it is you want to grow in, and then the coaching plans that we offer here at Brilla are meant to facilitate that growth and to keep our folks. So we want to ensure that, again, like your talents and like your gifts that you're good at, like the things you're good at, also match the needs of our school. And so I think there's a lot of opportunities for fostering that growth here.
That's awesome. The next question I have is from Alex S. So how does one actually get the experience though if they are never given the opportunity? No one wants to hire someone who is not experienced, but how does that experience even start? We get this question a lot, and I thought it was so good that even he's probably starting. And in that, like, can you talk a little bit in terms of just someone who's just scared to even apply because they don't have the experience?
Yeah. That's really real, and I think everyone's probably been there. You look at a job and you're like, I have no chance. Like this is so out of my like league, and I just am beginning. And I would say there's definitely some roles that we have that have like very specific requirements. Like those are the qualifications of the role, and that's like, as folks who work in talent, those don't come from us. Those are like from the hiring managers, and also what the role needs. And so I want to set up everybody to be successful at a job. And I feel like it wouldn't be fair to hire somebody who doesn't meet at least the requirements for a job. Now that being said, I think everyone has the opportunity to start somewhere. And so what I love about our schools is that we have both entry-level positions and then senior executive suite positions, and really so much in between. So I would really think about like, well, if this is where I want to go, then what are like, I'm going to get my foot in the door. So this might be a position that is not exactly the one I want, but like one that at least matches. And of course, it has to be something you like, right? It just can't be anything you don't like, but something you do like. And so I think for somebody who doesn't have like a ton of experience, it's great to know that that's where you want to end up, and also thinking, okay, how can I'm backwards planning now. Like, how can I get there? So I need 2 years of teaching experience. Okay, I need to get teaching experience. Let me go teach. And building up to that, and knocking on, like, when your principal says like, hey, I want those opportunities, like, yeah, like sign me up to be a team lead. Like, yes, I want to be a master teacher or enter into a grad school program. So I think if that is the goal, I think looking at what the entryways are, and then building towards that. And I wouldn't be afraid to name that for Alec and anybody else to a manager of like, hey, this is a place where I would love to be eventually. I know I'm not there yet. What kind of coaching can I get in order to get there?
Wow.
And I think that's like the best way to continue to progress and grow.
All right, well, I'm going to add a plug here. So like when are we doing our hiring for the 2024-2025 school year?
Okay, that's the question of the So we are, I mean, now. So this is the official launch right here.
Yeah.
So we are beginning our hiring. We've been going through our applications, trying to get a good sense of what is available. Of course, we want to only present opportunities that like are actually available to folks. So we're in that process right now, but we are accepting applications. We are beginning our interviews for 24-25. I don't even know how it is already. We're talking about 2025. Currently it's 2024. But it is, but these are we're beginning that process as we speak.
All right, Ruby. Well, I think we're about time. Is there anything else you want to say, or like you want to?
Anything else I would say? You guys have done a great job. I've loved to see the broadcast grow. And for all those folks on LinkedIn who are watching us, we really hope that you check out our social media pages, the LinkedIn. If you don't hear an opportunity or see anything that fits for you, share it with somebody else, and you never know.
All right. So Ruby, we were so happy to have
Thank you for having us.
All right. Thank you for watching. Our next episode is going to be on student recruitment, which we're so excited.
Wow, okay.
And there may be a family coming. So that's going to be very exciting to hear, because as much as we need students and we need teachers to make a school.
Yep.
So in that, everything ties in together. And so in that, thank you very much. And this was so great.
Okay.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.